And yeah, for the most part, I think toss up. I think what happened was like right off the bat, the Eagles were really hot. They're like, oh, they're cooking, baby. And then it sort of slowed down. I think the Eagles offense, from what I saw, probably performed better than the defense, but evidently the defense was on the farther field and more difficult to see for the Eagles reporters. Um, but it looked like they didn't perform as well.
It is a football Friday here on Birds 365 as we get that much closer to the start of the regular season. We had a key preseason day yesterday, which we're going to talk extensively about today here on our Football Friday episode. We've got a couple of good guests coming your way. You got your Mac guys, McMullen and McDonald. We've got a lot to sink our teeth into over the next 2 hours. But I do want to start here, John. I need to thank one of our streamers. And we love all you guys who stream in and not only check us out on a daily basis, but also have your own running conversation on the stream, which is stone cold great. I enjoy reading you guys every single day. I need to thank Andrew Hernandez, who was our first or second streamer today. We got a new member, Paul Blum, today. Thanks for checking in, Paul. Whose first comment was, "Where's Kyle Rogers?" Now, Kyle streams in every single day. If the show doesn't start exactly at 8 a.m., he has to ask the question, is Jody asleep again? Did Jody's alarm go
happened
down?
Once.
Where the hell is Jody? We took a power hit at my house. The alarm never went off, and I just slept through the entire show, which I profusely apologized for 6 months ago, however long ago it was. But Kyle jumps on every single day and says, Jody oversleeping again. And I know
Kyle overslept. Now you got some ammunition.
That's why I'm thanking Angel Hernandez.
Yeah.
The show started a minute late and there was no Kyle Rogers. Methinks his alarm didn't go off. He didn't get up in time to watch the beginning of Bird. Kyle Rogers, where the hell are you, my friend?
Well, you're not going to get the apology. And Angel Hernandez is screwing up somebody's strike zone somewhere. That's what he's doing. Isn't that the umpire who's terrible?
Yeah, that's Angel. This is Andrew.
Yeah. Andrew. I'm sorry.
That's all right. Don't be called. Andrew's my guy now. He defended me.
He
so
did.
Don't be dropping any Angel Hernandez on Andrew Hernandez. He is not a lousy umpire in the National League. He is a on top of things Birds 365 watcher.
Yeah, for some reason I thought you said Angel, and that I probably have bad strike zones on the mind. I'm up, but physically, but I'm tired, so I heard Angel.
We'll find out how much you have on the ball today, because we got a lot to sink our teeth into with the fact that first thing first, let's promo our guest. Game Day Kratz, Eddie Kratz is on live. He was in Cleveland at the practice yesterday. We'll go through the entire hour and 40 minutes that the Browns and the Eagles put in yesterday with Ed. Our second guest is going to be Daniel Ryder, who covers the Browns for 92.3 The Fan out there in Cleveland, their all sports radio station, who I said having Daryl on up through a friend who's the program director of the radio station out there, Andy Roth. Used to be a Philly guy, graduated from Penn, was a producer of mine in 2 different places, and we're still buddies. I said, can you get me a guy, one of you guys on the staff, who will be in attendance for the Thursday practice, and then we get him on Friday morning. He'll be back for the Friday practice, but we can get some Browns perspective for the joint practice that the Eagles and Browns can have. So he set me up with Daryl, said he's good. He's their Browns reporter, covers them every single day for 92.3 out there. And then I check his Twitter this morning, and he says, I don't want to comment on practice because I didn't get a chance to watch as much of it as I thought I was going to, because they had this other thing going on out in Cleveland called the Deshaun Watson settlement. So all the Browns reporters were much more in tune to what was happening off the field than on the field practice today. So we're going to get Darryl up. He's going to be on. We'll probably ask him a lot of Deshaun Watson questions. Because don't forget, as Johnny Mac has been reporting here forever, the Eagles were sincerely interested in acquiring Deshaun Watson. They were in the conversation. They found out that they didn't have a chance because Deshaun had a no-trade clause and he didn't want to come into Philadelphia and unseat his buddy Jalen Hurts. So despite their interest, the Eagles really never had a shot at Deshaun Watson, and Howie Roseman should thank his lucky stars. That's the case, because otherwise we
Yeah.
and the Eagles would be dealing with all this crap that the Browns are doing with
Yeah.
today. So we'll have Darryl on a little bit later. It just isn't going to be the conversation that we thought we were going to have with Darryl, but we'll do it just the same. All right, Johnny Mac, you've talked to Ed, and we'll get Ed up here in less than 20 minutes now. And all your fellow Eagle beat reporters. Practice number 1 between the Eagles and the Browns. They did this twice last year. You were there for all 4 practices, which most people suggest the Eagles went 4-0 in those practices. From the reports I saw, pretty close to a toss-up yesterday.
Yeah, toss-up. I get that. That, and that's why I wanted to check out the Mary Kay Cabots of the world, Darryl, writers of the world. I wanted to see their perspective. Because, you get some homerism going. You're used to seeing players. It looks like Devonta Smith had a really good practice. And I wanted to, kind of balance it, and couldn't balance it because they were busy yesterday, and they're kind of I'm in the same boat. I'm like, I hate talking about practices I don't go to,
Right.
because it, I can't tell you what went on, but thankfully we're going to have Ed here who can. And yeah, for the most part, I think toss up. I think what happened was, like, right off the bat, the Eagles were really hot. You're like, oh, they're cooking, baby. And then it sort of slowed down. I think the Eagles offense, from what I saw, probably performed better than the defense, but evidently the defense was on the farther field and more difficult to see for the Eagles reporters. But it looked like they didn't perform as well, maybe. And yeah, toss up is probably the way to go. Or I saw slight edge to the Eagles, so maybe you can give them 5-0. I don't know, but I don't feel comfortable giving them a title. So I'm going to lean on the fence. No one likes to do that, but it seems like it was pretty even. And guess what? No Myles Garrett, out for personal reasons. Denzel Ward didn't practice in team drills. Deshaun Watson, obviously, on the second team. If you're going to go tiebreaker, you might have to go tiebreaker the other way, unfortunately.
Yeah, see, and I won't even go tiebreaker, which means the Eagles are still undefeated. If they're 4-0-1, that's still
right.
an
That's
undefeated joint practice record for the Philadelphia Eagles. I give you one other guy, and Eddie's going to join us in less than 10 minutes now, so we'll get that much more from him because he was there. I'm ticked off at someone today. The problem is I don't know who to be ticked off at. Yesterday we had Jeff Mosher on with us from Inside the Birds, and he gave us a great spot, as he always does. But something came out. He told us when he was on with us, they had just dropped their latest podcast on Inside the Birds. And I read this morning that on the podcast, Jeff Mosher said that the Eagles had talked to 2 specific teams, didn't name the teams, but said there were 2 teams that were in conversation with the Philadelphia Eagles for a potential trade of Jalen Reagor. Now, Mosher never mentioned that when he was on with us for 20 minutes yesterday. Now,
I don't think we asked, so that's
what I'm saying. I said, yeah. I'm mad at somebody. I don't know who I'm mad at. I don't know if I'm mad at Mosher for not bringing it up with us. I don't know if I'm mad at you because you're a better reporter than I am, and you should have thought to ask that question, or if I'm mad at myself because, yeah, I'm a co-host of this show. I could have gotten to Jalen Reagor and maybe gotten it out of Mosher yesterday. Whoever I'm mad at somebody.
I don't know who to get mad at either, because I also forgot that you were leaving early. So typically we would have kept you up a little bit longer. And then I usually at the end get to the Reagor Dillard trade conversation, which I probably would have, because Cleveland and Andrew Berry and Catherine Raish are there. They're so familiar with each other, both organizations. But I mean, as far as the trade, look, they've been talking about trading Jalen Reagor for a long time. And they've been fielding calls, making calls. But Ed can talk about this too, because he's got a really good source in the Jalen Reagor camp. And the Eagles want a lot for Jalen Reagor. I don't know who's going to give them a lot for Jalen Reagor at this point. So it's kind of out of loggerheads. Maybe Howard Roseman is just playing that game until he can't play it anymore, and then you just fold and get as much as you can. Or, maybe keep him just in case there's an injury, because you never know when that light turns on, and he does have talent. You're certain, in other words, if you, and you don't even want to say it, but if you lose one of your top two receivers, it's nice to have somebody with that talent that you could just throw in there rather than trying to cobble it together with guys who might be good from a locker room standpoint, like Greg Ward and Zach Pascal, but don't have the athleticism or that kind of striking ability to make big plays. I don't know what the Eagles are thinking, but it looks like he's going to be here, and unless unless Howie Roseman comes down. I mean, nobody's giving up a day 2 pick for Jalen Reagor, and if they do, it's going to be a Rick Spielman like trade where you're just panicking because of a major injury, or and you go back to Sam Bradford and all that. And maybe that's what he's waiting for.
Since you put them together in the same sentence, I'll do the same. Dillard, Reagor, right now. None of those leverage changing injuries involved. The interest is what it is around the league. The teams have the roster that they have. Who brings more in return than John McMullen signs in a deal?
As far as it's got to be Dillard. Got to be. I mean, it's a more valuable position. He's, neither has set the world on fire, but he's been a little bit more consistent when he has been out there, at least when things settle down for him, than Jalen Reagor. But yeah, left tackle is just more valuable than, what a third, fourth receiver, something of that nature. Now, if somebody thinks Jalen Reagor is a starting receiver, I don't, even at that point, because you're going to bring in Andre Dillard as a starting left tackle. I would think Dillard would bring back more, and that's a pretty comfortable, I think, comfortable spot to be in. I don't see many avenues where Jalen Reagor could bring back more than Andre Dillard.
All right, since we're on the trade front, let me run this by you as well. Again, we got the report from all of Eagle reporters. Eagles might have gotten the better of it, but it was very close, or it was a toss-up day, and they could see the Eagle offense better and more clearly from where they were positioned to be able to watch practice than they could the Eagles defense. Eagles offense looked good yesterday, and they did so without Miles Sanders, but most of it seemed to be the passing. That Jalen Hurts had a really nice day. That Devonta Smith came back at the field running after missing some time with an injury. A.J. Brown was A.J. Brown, and Dallas Goedert was catching the ball all over the place. Eagles running game not mentioned near as much. They might not have run all that many running plays, so you judge it as you feel you need to judge it. But apparently Kareem Hunt had a pretty good day for the Browns, that the Eagle defense didn't just manhandle or steamroll the Brown offense. And, oh, yeah, the Browns run the ball more than the Eagles do. For those of you clinging to hope that the Eagles going to pick up from where they left off last year. Not happening. The Eagles are going to be a passing team, at least at the start of the season. And the Cleveland Browns are not. They don't have Deshaun Watson. They're going to go with Jacoby Brissett. They've got a talented running back room. But Kareem Hunt is not happy with his position as the definitive number 2 behind Nick Chubb, and is asked for a trade, but is in camp and is performing for the Browns right now. But it doesn't mean he can't be traded between now and the beginning of the season. And people have tied the Eagles to an interest in Hunt. Don't know exactly how many conversations Howie Roseman has had. He's a talented back. He makes good money, but not outrageous money. You could argue that if he came here, he would be the equivalent of Miles Sanders.
I would argue he's better.
Better? Okay. Yeah, you're not as big a Miles fan as I am. and certainly not
Actually, I've turned into a big Miles fan. Maybe not as big as you,
a
but
Miles defender. You've
yes,
become
a
not
Miles
necessarily a
defender.
Miles fan.
I mean, compared to most Eagles fans, I've turned into a Miles fan, I guess, if you want to describe it. I think he's a good player. I think he's a good player. I just think he was overrated, and now he's underrated. And I think that swing has been pretty drastic, to the point where people were nuts to compare him to some of the great running backs in the league, and they're just as nuts to think he's not the best running back on this team right now. Now Kareem Hunt comes in here, that changes it. So I don't know. First of all, you're right. He makes $6 million, so it's not outrageous, but it is kind of outrageous for the Eagles at that position. I don't know if they want to go down that route. He's had some issues in his past. That's the reason he's in Cleveland. So you have that part of it as well. He was a great running back. People seem to forget in Kansas City. He's very effective. He's certainly one of the best 32 running backs in the world. They just happen to have Nick Chubb. I would argue he's top half. He's at least top 15. He might even be higher than that. He certainly was higher than that in Kansas City. So he's a very good player. From a football standpoint, just pure, take everything else out of it, I think he'd be an upgrade. I don't think the Eagles want to pay that money at that position, even though it doesn't seem like a lot. I don't think they want to upset the apple cart, because then you kind of lost Miles Sanders at that point.
But here's one of the reasons. I'm sorry to interrupt, John, because Eddie joined us just a second. Your Miles just became a Miles fan. I've been a Miles fan since he was drafted out of Penn State. Yeah, I Peak and Valley like the Eagle fan base, just not as drastically as they do too. But here's the one thing you can't defend. Miles gets hurt. How did Miles perform yesterday, John?
He didn't, because
he was hurt. What else is new? That's why I think the Eagles have to at least consider the Kareem Hunt thing, because Miles never plays all 17 games.
We're talking about 3 seasons, right? He did play every game in his rookie season. So, yeah, he's missed 4 games and 5 games over the past 2 seasons. So, yeah, I mean, you hope he can be out there for 17. You probably can't count on it, but maybe sometimes the odds swing in your direction. There haven't been serious injuries. As far as this particular injury, I don't care. I mean, they're going to be really cautious about. Okay. It's evident. I say all the time, Jody, is he on the field watching? He was on the field watching. If it's serious, they're not on the field. That's when I start to get concerned. If they say, yeah, go out and watch, that tells you they're just being cautious. And that part of it to me is positive. Same thing with James Bradbury. He's out with a groin. Everybody, he's out with a groin. What's going to now? He didn't even go in the building when he tweaked his groin. He went into the medical tent. Then he went back, and this was Tuesday. Went back outside to watch practice. So that to me indicates it's not serious, and they're just being cautious. So I'm not worried about that with Miles Sanders right now. But I understand people who have concerns, because it's been 2 years, and is he going to be there for 17 games? Probably not. I'd probably bet against that, but maybe luck runs in his corner this year.
Here's why I will at least wave the red flag. I won't throw it down and slam it into the dirt, but at least wave it. They had 85 guys there yesterday on the Eagle roster. 78 of them dressed and played. 7 of them didn't. So he's in that 10% that falls. They were overly cautious. Well, they're not overly cautious with everybody, because 78 guys dressed and played yesterday.
Well, yeah, but no, Jody, that's a timing. He just tweaked his hamstring. Whereas guys who came back, like Boston Scott, got out of the concussion protocol. Okay, he's back. LaRaven Clark had a hamstring. He had been out for a number of days. It's just the timing of it. His hamstring injury came before, and he's back. And I forget the third person that came back. Ed's going to join us after the break. I can look at the report. But that's just a timing thing. Like Bradbury tweaked his groin on Tuesday, so he's not out there. I mean, if he tweaked his groin a week before or 10 days before, he'd be out there. So that to me is just the timing aspect of the caution part of it. And he happened to get hurt. later than some of the other guys who return. That to me is the explanation for that part.
Fair enough. It just seems to me the timing crops up too often with Miles Sanders, and that's why I would consider a potential upgrade. How's that Kenny Gainwell looked in preseason so far? Oh, okay. There's
Not
the guy
great
they're
to
going to
me,
plug
but
in for him.
other people think he's looked good. Bob Groats thought he looked good. Not great to
That
me.
wasn't Bob Groats. I don't know who joined us yesterday, but it wasn't Bob Groats. He was way too optimistic to be Bob Groats. All right, one of the guys that we have on often here on Birds 365, because he calls it right down the middle. There isn't an evil Ed Kratz and an overly optimistic Ed Kratz. It's the one and only Ed Kratz, and he's going to join us next here on Birds 365.